It's been a whole lot of conversations, man, surrounding Tupac not really being a gangster. How you feel about people that always make that comment saying Tupac wasn't a gangster?
Well, the word gangster, a lot of times it's mixed up with a lot of nefarious and petty activities, if you will, on one end. But then on the other end, if you go back and look at what true, what we would consider gangsters, you got your John Gotti's, you got your, people who were truly stand up, took the time, whatever they were involved in, they took it like a man. They never spoke, they never snitched, they never did any of those things, right? And so if you talk about the actions of being a gangster and not just using the title itself, Tupac was that, but more importantly, Tupac was the man of the house. And that's what a true gangster is. A true gangster is the man of the house. If you know any Italians or people like that, they're men of their family. They take care of their family. Their family is first. And if we know anything about Pac, which I do, like I said, that was one of the things that he always did. He made sure his mother was cool, his aunties, and everybody else. He took care of his whole family. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you delve into that, and then I can get into the fact that even during the incident in New York when they came to the hotel, there were guns found. Now, the guns didn't belong to Tupac. And I know so many people who, under that pressure of going to jail and possibly doing a lot of time in jail, I know a lot of people under that pressure would have told on who those guns belonged to escape that charge. But once again, Tupac was a man of honor. He never said anything. He said the guns aren't mine. His fingerprints weren't on the guns. So therefore, he stood up and represented like he should when you think about that whole thing. So like I said, when somebody says that he's not a gangster, you got a lot of guys today who talk about they're gonna bust their gun and they'll do this and they'll do that and so on and so forth. Yeah, they might shoot another black man, right? But like I said, in the incident, like you said, when we seen Tupac, when I first met him, the crazy part is on the first night that I met him, he was busting his gun in the air to back some dudes up off of, who were throwing bottles and so on and so forth, trying to get up at the concert that I told you about at Bowie State University. You see what I'm saying? And so then you go to the incident in Atlanta with the police officers. Once again, people talk about being a gangster. Once again, this is a guy who could be minding his own business, seen somebody in trouble and decided to come out and help him out. Like I said, once again, people use that terminology loosely, gangster, right? But Tupac was tried and true. Under the pressure, he didn't fold. He never told. He handled his business. Despite everything that they offered Tupac to try to take a plea, if you cop a plea to this, knowing that he didn't do it, facing all of that time, 4 years in prison for something I know I didn't do. Look, prosecutor come to you and say, look, all you got to do is plead guilty to this lesser and we'll give you probation. Tupac said, no, I didn't do it. And one day, hopefully the truth will come out. So think about that for a minute. That's the epitome of what a gangster, the definition, not the word, but I'm talking about the definition is. But like I said, more importantly, Tupac was a man of the house. And I think you get respected more for that than you do anything, amongst men, amongst real men. When you stand amongst real men who've lived that life, who changed their life, yeah, he was the epitome of that. Not the word, but the deeds and the actions.
I always said this, man. I never heard anything that was more gangster than somebody shooting 2 off-duty cops for harassing a black man. So when people say Tupac not gangster, me personally, I never heard anything more gangster than that.
Once again, like I said, that's the pressure. What you gonna do when the pressure comes? Because remember, the story was that they drew down on him and him not knowing that they were police. So let's deal with the factual matter of that. He didn't know. They didn't announce themselves as police officers. You know what I mean? But even though they didn't do that, he didn't cower away and say, okay, cool, you know, they drew down on me. He's like, nah, you know, and he handled his business accordingly, trying to help out somebody that he saw that was in distress. So once again, like I said, not the word, but the actions, because anybody can call themselves a gangster. You know what I mean? They, like I said, they use the terminology real loosely nowadays, and people running around, you know, oh, that's gangster, or this is gangster, and so on and so forth. But as soon as that pressure come, right? They say pressure busts pipes and makes water rush uphill. You know what I mean? 95% of the people, just like when the feds get you for a case, they got a 95% conviction rate. You know what I mean? 95% of the people that get caught up, they fold. So you got 5% of the people that are actually claiming, who don't even claim and want to be known to be gangsters, right? Their reputation precedes them. I know one. His name's Guy Fisher. I don't know you know who Guy Fisher is, but Guy Fisher was a guy who owned the Apollo Theater, right? And when Guy Fisher owned the Apollo Theater, right, Tupac performed at the Apollo at a play that was one of his first plays, and it's documented, called A Raisin in the Sun. The Raisin in the Sun play, right? Guy Fisher, part of that whole Nicky Barnes thing, went to jail, still in prison today. And the words that he told Rudy Giuliani when they convicted him in New York, he told him, you ain't gonna be hearing no call from me like he did from Nicky Barnes. So once again, if you know people who've lived that life, the people who respect Tupac, Matulu, Stepdad, once again, you know, not the word gangster, revolutionary, and all of those things, a stand-up guy. So like I said, once again, Tupac comes from a long line of people who did nothing but stand up. His auntie Asada, once again, stand up. She been in Cuba how long? Ain't nobody gave her up. Even the U.S. government tried to go down there and get her. They didn't give her up because she stand for something. He comes from a long line of people that had set that example that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So like I said, once again, Tupac was the man of the house.
Do you think people that make them comments, man, you know, trying to throw dirt on Tupac image and try to throw dirt on his legacy by saying that he wasn't a gangster, do you think they're misinformed, and do you think they have the wrong understanding of who Tupac was as a person? Because he said numerous times in interviews that he wasn't a gangster. So when I see that on social media and people saying that he wasn't a gangster, and they saying that to try to taint his legacy and his image, do you think them people are just misinformed and they just have the wrong understanding of who Tupac was?
Well, I don't really, like I said, I don't really pay attention to that. First of all, I look at who's saying it, right? So if I know for a fact, number one, they didn't meet Tupac. Number two, they didn't know Tupac. I know immediately, usually they are saying something to draw attention to themselves. That's the power that Tupac had, right? So you have artists, even artists nowadays, right, who come out and they mention Tupac's name, basically comparing themselves to Tupac, or he's the next Tupac, or I should be compared to Tupac, or I'm in the same league as Tupac, or, you know, my music is better than Tupac, or I rap better than Tupac. All of those things are said to garner attention because they haven't released a hit record. They don't have a Brenda's Got a Baby. They don't have a Dear Mama. They don't have a All Eyes on Me. They don't have a Me Against the World. So all of those things in the negative comments attributed to him, like I said, once again, those are used as ploys to basically garner attention for something that they have that people haven't paid attention to. And you can see it over and over and over. I think it's actually in a playbook at the record labels or at the movie company or wherever. Okay, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to compare you to Tupac and say that your music is great like his and so on and so forth. Therefore, the story tends to go a little bit further, if you will, from that perspective. So like I said, tainting his memory can't do, because number one, it's etched in stone. He's already done it. Over 75 million records. And Tupac did more by the age of 25 than most of these guys are going to do in their lifetime. And so you have to understand that. So that's why the comparison is always made in a negative way. It'll draw attention. and in a positive way, and trying to, or so-called positive way, and trying to compare themselves to what he's done. So like I said, the gangster or the not being a gangster, I'm not looking at what you calling yourself. I'm looking at your actions. And if your actions tell me that, you know what, he's a stand-up guy, he deserves to be respected. He took the hit. He didn't fold. When you come out, your reputation precedes you. Tupac did that. You got a lot of guys, the rapper who said something about Tupac, let's be clear, 6ix9ine, said, I'm just like Tupac. I should be compared to Tupac or something like that. And I'm paraphrasing. Well, I'll say this. He can't be compared to Tupac, because when they came to get you, you put that jacket on, in which they call that snitch jacket on. You understand what I'm saying? So by that one move, you could never compare yourself to Tupac, because Tupac got caught up in something similar, right? With the guns and the whole 9 yards. And when it came time to do what he had to do, Tupac kept his mouth shut and took the hit. The gun charge got dropped because, number one, he kept his mouth shut. Rule number one, keep your mouth shut. So once again, in that same thing, the trying to gain publicity off of Tupac, whether it's, he's not gangster, he's not this. And like I said, you said the article, right? Article 1 in particular, October 25th, 1995, Chuck Phillips. The title of the story was, in the LA Times, I'm not a gangster. So we already know that. But like I said, I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to leave you with this. It's not your words, it's your deeds.